But I look at the matches I did have and the talent I was able to be in the ring with, the Attitude Era, some of the greatest wrestlers of all time, wrestling against The Rock and Triple H and Stone Cold and Undertaker and Triple H. And the list goes on and on of the great wrestlers I got to work with and against.
Welcome, everyone, to Unpopular Review. In our interview series, it is I, Evil Dose, and I am here with a very special guest. As you can see, we have Marc Mero. Some of you younger whippersnappers may not remember Johnny B. Bad, but a great, great character. And, of course, Marc was in WCW. He was in WWF. He was in WCW again. He was in TNA. But he has an amazing amateur background and an amazing story, and he's been doing great things ever since. So listen, Marc, thank you so much for joining us on Unpopular Review.
Oh, thanks for having me, man. How you been?
I've been really good. I really appreciate it. So let's start with your amateur career, because I don't know that a lot of people know about it, especially I think a lot of our listeners and viewers are younger fans. So you had, like I said, you started young, like junior high and stuff, but you were like an amazing high school and junior high school athlete, right?
Well, thank you. Yeah, I excelled in football. I played junior hockey, amateur boxing, and then, of course, made my way to the crazy world of professional wrestling. It was just an incredible journey.
Didn't you win like 4 Golden Gloves titles?
I did. I won in New York. I won 4 state titles, including the New York State Golden Gloves and the gold medal in the Empire State Games.
Yeah, and New York is no joke, and that was probably the 80s, or.
Yeah, it was the mid 80s and early mid 80s, and it was boxing was a hotbed back then too. So I fought some great fighters and some tough guys that went on to have some great professional careers. Actually, one of them won a world title, and so I've been there with the best.
Who had the world title? Who was it?
Jeff Lampkin.
Okay, what weight class were you in?
Light heavyweight, which went up to 178 pounds.
Gotcha. And you also had a football career. I saw that George O'Leary was your coach, and of course he went on to great things, and then almost other great things. Then had some problems, but
he's still, to this day, I still keep in touch with George, and he's just a great mentor, great coach. He was back. He's the old school man, hard nosed, tough coach, and. He wasn't afraid of kicking your pants. He was tough. And our team, Liverpool High School, we won the state title in New York. We had a great team, just an amazing team. And George was just a great coach, and we've always kept in touch. And I went on to see him. I believe he won a championship at Georgia Tech. He coached UCF to a couple great seasons, some bowl victories, and he had a pretty good career.
Yeah, I was at Emory when he was at Georgia Tech, so he was definitely a very prominent figure locally. And then, actually, my oldest son goes to UCF, but that's now, not then. But then there was the Notre Dame thing, and the world's dumbest, controversy of all time probably wouldn't have been a thing for, if it happened 2 years later, and then for the next 20 years, wouldn't have been a thing at all. Now, these days, everything's a thing. So, but it was just the wrong time. He sort of peaked too early. But yeah, great success with Georgia Tech. But we're not here to talk too much about him. And then, so from boxing, I understand that you had an accident. I think it was a broken nose, and that kept you from being able to box again.
Well, I was I moved to Colorado Springs, Colorado, with the USA boxing team. I was training out of the Olympic Training Center. And the Olympics were boycotted in 1980, so I was there in 81. And to wait 4 more years and hopefully to make the team and travel with the team to fight in the Olympics, it was a choice I made, turn professional. So I was working on we were scheduling a 5-fight contract with ESPN. I had my first professional boxing match scheduled in my hometown. Man, I tell you, I never trained harder for anything in my entire life. I ran more miles. I did more wind sprints, sparred more rounds. And unfortunately, 2 weeks before my first professional boxing match, I had my nose shattered in an accident. I needed reconstructive surgery. And in that time off, I started making some really bad decisions because my whole life, ever since I was a kid, I was always training for all these different sports. So I was always into sports, always training, and always watching my friends going out and having a good time, and me staying back because of events coming up, or sporting events. And I thought, I just want to have fun for a little while. I got all this time off anyways, all this free time, and man, I started hanging out with the wrong people. Next thing you know, I'm going to the bars and the parties, drinking, getting high, and then I got addicted to drugs. Mm-hmm. And 10 years of my life went by. The only job I could get with my limited high school education was in construction. I was building, digging swimming pools. And it was in that time I moved to Florida, and some of the guys at the gym were those guys that got beat up on television, Right. And I was sitting around my apartment with a bunch of friends, and professional wrestling came on. And I remember saying to them, I was looking at those guys wrestling, I go, man, I could do that. Not that it was easy, but I was always a good athlete. So I figured I could do it. Now I'm 30 years old at this point in my life. And so when I met the guys at the gym, I asked them, well, how do you get to go down to Atlanta, which was about a 7-hour drive from Venice, Florida? And I said, how do you get to be, to wrestle with those guys, like Sting and Lex Luger and all these amazing athletes? And they said, well, you just go there, and if they like you, they pick you. And I thought, do you mind if I go with you guys? And sure enough, they picked me, and I got to wrestle. My first match was like a tag team match against Doom. Now they're like the world tag team champions at the time.
Ron Simmons and Butch Reed.
Boy, they kicked the heck out of me. I mean, I thought wrestling was a work, man. They beat the crap out of me. And anyways, make a long story short, it was Jesse Rhodes, who was the booker then, and he was watching me on the monitor. And after the match, they asked me to come back. He wanted to talk to me. And I thought he was upset about, me screwing up the match or whatever. And he says, and I automatically just start apologizing to him. I go, hey, I'm Dust. I'm sorry about the mess up. And I kind of messed up the finish. And he said, oh, no, I don't care about that. He goes, did anybody ever tell you you look like Little Richard? And I said, no, I never heard that before. And he goes, I think I got a gimmick for you. And that's when he saw me as his character, Johnny B. Bad.
So this is Dusty Rhodes, the American Dream, the legend. Yeah. And this is the kind, and he says to you, you look like Little Richard. Now, even if you disagreed entirely, it's not, you're going to say, sure, yeah, sure, yes, sir.
Whatever it took to get a gimmick, whatever it took to be one of those guys, to be a contract wrestler,
Because I really wanted to know, how does a guy play football, boxer, amateur boxer, won all these, legit tough guy. You had a bodybuilding career where I think you placed in something pretty high, like number 4.
I was third in Mr. New York State.
Yeah, that's no joke either. And then Dusty Rhodes basically tells you want to be, let's just say, a flamboyant rock star from the 50s. And I'm thinking, how does that conversation go with this guy who's like,
it was really funny. When he said to me, anybody ever tell you look like Little Richard? I thought he was talking about a wrestler named Little Richard. I didn't think he was talking about the singer. No one ever told me I look like that, And I said, I've never heard of Little Richard. He goes, you don't know Little Richard? And he starts going, womp bum and loo bop and womp bum. And he starts singing Tutti Frutti and all these different things. And I said, oh, you mean the singer? And I said, yeah, I never heard that. He goes, oh, I got a gimmick for you. And next thing I know, he had Terry Reynolds, who was married to Dustin at the time became Marlena. She was our makeup artist. And next thing you know, Dusty had me going to makeup, and they put my hair up and, mascara and eyeliner. And when they spun me around that chair, I couldn't believe that I actually looked like Little Richard. So Dusty had this amazing ability to see things that no one else would see. But the fun part about being that character was Dusty Rhodes worked with me all the time. Like before I'd go out there and wrestle, he'd say, now, I want you to walk like this and talk like this and use this kind of accent. And he goes, I always want you to go, oh, hush, or something. And I'd go, oh, hush. He goes, oh, no, go, oh, hush, and he'd just be real flamboyant. And I got to tell you, probably the hardest I've ever laughed was watching him be Johnny B. Bad. We'd have so much fun with that part of it, and he got a kick out of it too. So You know, and since he's passed, I mean, obviously there are memories I will always have and cherish that I got my break from the American dream, Dusty Rhodes.
Yeah, that's amazing. But I have to ask you, like, what was your first thought? And time's gone by, so you can be honest. What was your first thought when you turned through the mirror and they transformed you into Little Richard? I mean, did you think, what the hell? Or did you say, this has never worked? Did you say, I look too good?
Well, you know, I was brought up Jewish in New York. You know, my dad being a Jew, and I remember when Dusty first gave me the character. I was at the CNN Center, and I couldn't wait till after I got done talking to Dusty that I just signed this contract with WCW as a character, Johnny B. Bad. And I couldn't wait to call my father. You know, and back then in 1990, you can call collect, and they'd say, right, I have a collect call from, and then you say your name. This is Mark. And then, you know, the person either accepts or denies it. No, I used to make this joke because there's a few things you don't do in the world. You know, the old saying, you don't tug on Superman's cape, you don't spit in the wind, or you don't call a Jew collect, okay?
Well, you can make that joke.
The reason I say that is my dad, he was very frugal, you know, and he would not accept a collect call. And so anyways, so I call up and they said, would you like to say collect call from? I go, Dad, don't hang up. It's important. So he says, I accept the call. And I said, Dad, you're not going to believe this. I just signed a big contract with WCW Wrestling. Now, my dad used to work my corner in boxing. So my dad always see me, you know, growing up, hockey player, football player, boxer. And he goes, my dad from Brooklyn, New York. So he talked like this. He said, Mark, I'm so proud of you. You know, he didn't pronounce his R's, you know, Mark, da, you know. And he said, what do they got you doing? I go, well, Dad, they got me doing this Little Richard gimmick. He goes, Little Richard? Isn't that fag, a black guy? And I go, yeah, but Dad, they're paying me 6 figures. He goes, Mark, I always liked that Little Richard.
That's right. Embrace it.
That's how Johnny B. Bad was born.
I got to tell you, and well, you brought a little bit of Muhammad Ali to it also.
Well, I mean, you know, that was a big transition. Was, you know, after a while, when I signed my second contract, I said, I kept asking Dusty, could you mind if I dropped the makeup? Because I was speaking at some schools and, you know, working with kids and stuff, and it was always a kind of a controversial thing where kids go, why do you wear makeup or lipstick or whatever, you know? So it was something I really wanted to do. And finally, Dusty agreed to it. And I said, let's make it more like, you know, the Johnny B. Bad Muhammad Ali character, you know? And that's how that really transitioned into kind of trying to make bad into good, you know?
That's right. I'll never forget. I'm so pretty. I should have been a little girl. To this day, I cannot on a Bible. I could not tell you whether it was Little Richard who said that or Muhammad Ali or just you. I don't know.
It was, you know, I think it was Muhammad Ali that actually said that. You know,
but I thought so too.
The way Dusty had me say it was more like, I'm so pretty. I should have been born a little girl.
You sound like Dusty right now.
I have to walk up to the microphone and say that, you know. But, you know, like I said, it was just great times in my life. It was the early 90s. And the character would be so controversial. Now you would never be able to fly. You know, you'd have all kinds of people being upset about different stuff, you know.
Probably, but you never know. I mean, there's an audience for it, but so you trained with the Malenko. So was Dean Malenko one of your trainers?
No. Dean would be there every once in a while, but it was his dad, Boris Malenko, who ran the school. Dean was traveling and wrestling over in Japan and stuff, so he wasn't there very often. But once in a while, he'd show up and, you know, get us in a ring. I mean, he was just when we
young, right?
Pardon me?
He would have been. He's your contemporary.
Yeah. He was probably my age, around my age, and he would get in that ring when you watch him hit those ropes, and he just was such a technical wrestler. He just, man, he had so many moves. It was like, how do you ever get to be that good? You know, and then who'd ever think that later on down the road I'd actually wrestle him? You know,
right? Well, do you ever see? I mean, you worked with Dustin, you worked with Terry, obviously, but Dustin's still working. You worked with a young whippersnapper called Sting, and he's working. Do you ever get the itch? Just one more match. If Sting can do it, I can do it.
You know, it's funny because Diamond Dallas Page is one of my closest friends, and we live by each other here in Georgia. and we work out together and stuff. And he recently got back in the ring at 63 or something, 64. Yeah, he just turned 65. So I think it was a year or two ago he was in the ring with AEW. It was last year, I think. So you're on 64. And it's like I feel I'm going to be 61 this coming summer. But
July, right?
I feel incredible. I mean, I really keep myself in good shape. I eat really clean, and I train, 3-4 times a week. So I stay on top of my game. My health is phenomenal. And plus, from not wrestling for so long, my body's all healed up. So could I do it again? Absolutely.
So you're saying there's a chance. We just broke news here on Unpopular Review. Tony Khan, if you're listening.
Yeah. You never know, man. I have to put the trunks on and see what I look like, but
or Court or Billy or
it's funny to see some of the guys, even guys that I've wrestled, like Billy Gunn's still out there, Triple H every once in a while makes a comeback, and Undertaker just retired. So there's just a few guys left. Goldust, obviously, Dustin's still out there that's doing his thing. So you never know. But right now, I'm so content, though, in life. I mean, our school program, we average about 230 events a year up until this pandemic, of course. But before that, for the last 14 years, we've done 230 events a year. And it's been an incredible journey, an incredible ability to speak to so many students. So that's my passion. Wrestling would be nothing more than the right timing and to help promote something else that I'd be doing,
Sure. Of course, it's I'm not suggesting you'd sign a 3-year contract, or even if you did, it'd be for 3 appearances a year, whatever. But listen, it's good. You're not negotiating against yourself. You don't seem desperate. You seem very happy. So the check's got to be big, and a lot of it's going to go to a good cause. And we're going to talk about your cause a lot. I'm going to give you plenty of time for that because I'm truly interested in that. Because I'm sure you're sort of tired of talking about wrestling all the time. I just can't. Like, you wrestled Kane when he was Isaac Yankem, and now he's a mayor. Like, how do you track that transition in your life? Where you wrestled him, he was supposed to be an evil dentist. He was Kane for 20 years, and now that the guy is a mayor.
I was so blessed to wrestle him. It was my first match with WWF at that time, for WWE. My first time coming out from WCW as Johnny B. Bad to my first time being seen as Wild Man Marc Mero, and they chose him to put me over in the match, and he did a great job. I mean, all these signature moves that I would do, he could do, and. I couldn't have been more blessed to have a guy like that. He's a great guy too. Just a super person, really cares about his fans and people. And I couldn't be happier for the guy.
Yeah, I remember Daniel Bryan, and I'm sure politically they're very different, but he said that Kane, Glenn Jacobs, is the smartest wrestler he ever met, and one of the smartest people, period, he's ever met. And I'm sure that was sincere from the heart. But you worked with Mick Foley. I mean, you had a big rivalry with Mick Foley, and he's still chugging, not working, but he's still out there. But you also worked with a young Rocky Maivia.
Yeah, in fact, Rock's first match was with me in Survivor Series. I was the captain of the team. It was me, Jake Roberts, Barry Windham, and Rocky Maivia.
That's quite a team. You ever watch the Young Rock show and go, yeah, they got that right, or no, that's not it?
I'll be honest with you, I have not seen it yet. I look forward to seeing it. Did you get to see it?
Yeah, I'm the same as you. I like to ask the question where I'm not even prepared with my own answer. It's not really for me, I don't think, but it's doing quite well, and it's been renewed, so we'll have chances.
Good. Okay.
Hey, we all have Peacock now, right, for the network, and it comes with Comcast anyway. I want to talk about probably the one of the first times that publicly you sort of went out there and showed that you were, that at least publicly people knew about your character, because you were very outspoken early about the steroids thing. I mean, before it was okay to say it, before it was in to say it, it was still sort of, it was like crossing, this is a crappy analogy, but like the thin blue line. But you were very outspoken about it early on. I mean, it almost sounds silly now I don't know that people knew how no that was at the time, but like, what did it take to do it? What made you say to yourself, I have to say something? Like, what inspired you?
Well, back then we had a lot of tragedies happening in our company, and we lost a lot of people that were my close friends, and people that we really cared about, and there wasn't enough being done, and and it wasn't me pointing my fingers at other people. Is what I was able to get away with. I did, and the mistakes I made, and just when it just came to a head when with Chris Benoit and with Brian Pillman that died, and guys that we really cared about and loved. I mean, we were brothers, and we wrestled each other, we traveled with each other, and then seeing guys dying, and like I said, it wasn't about pointing my fingers at what other guys were doing. It was about what I was able to get away with and do, and the weak testing they had. And so, and if you really look at it, you got to be proud of who's looking back at the mirror every day. And I kind of got blackballed from it. I would never be invited to a WWE event to this day, But I look at, number one, any wrestler that is going through a hard time, drugs, alcohol, depression, they go for free rehab now.
Right.
That never happened before. These are things that happen after some of us spoke out. They have now the strictest drug testing, Olympic drug testing at WWE, where you don't very seldom see a wrestler dying of a drug overdose, or steroids that affect wrestlers. So, it's, you got to look at the good things. Maybe it saved some lives. Who knows, but
No doubt.
I know for sure that the wrestlers that took advantage of the drug rehab over and over again are alive today because of that. So, I would, if I could ever do it again, I'd do the exact same thing,
Good.
I'm not defined by, the WWF.
No, for sure. And I'm sure that you had something to do with the change, because nothing happens over one thing. There's always a confluence. There's always the straw that breaks the camel back. Sometimes it's a straw. Sometimes it's something bigger like Benoit. But there's always a bunch of things that lead up to it. That's just the way it works. I would just want to ask, like, what's your favorite match? What was your least favorite match? And do you have any regrets with wrestling? And then we're gonna get into what you're doing now.
Well, first of all, I got to say I have no regrets. I mean, there was things you look back and you go, why did that happen? Why did this happen? Or why did I go here or do this? But man, all the paths I took in life led me right to where I am today. And, happiness and sadness, happiness comes and goes. But the thing in life is to be content. And I am so content in my life. I love my life. And so all those paths I took ended up to where I am now. So I wouldn't want to change anything. My favorite match, I got a few of them I really like. Flying Brian Fall Brawl was probably a 30-minute match. That was probably one of my favorites. I've had some great ones with Stone Cold Steve Austin, some knock him down, drag him out match with DDP.
Yep.
Guys I learned from immensely. Steven Regal, Triple H, guys I was on the road with. When I first started, they put me on the road with Scotty. It was Scotty Flamingo back then.
Oh, right. Raven, Scott Levy.
Guys I learned a lot from that really helped me. Ricky Morton took me under his wing. So many people that helped me along the way. Arn Anderson, wow, what an amazing talent that guy is, and one of the most underrated, greatest wrestlers I've ever wrestled was Arn Anderson. But then, as I got more experience getting in there with like the likes of Eddie Guerrero, sure. God, that guy could do anything. Chris Benoit, another guy that could do anything. Dean Malenko, guys that were technical wrestlers that you'd learn from, and you got to keep up with them. It's like you look foolish if you can't keep up with them. So I learned a lot, and I got better and better. I became one of the most improved wrestlers when I first. I remember when I started, I was only 30 years old. I signed my first contract a year later. So I didn't know the difference between a wrist lock and a wristwatch. So I had to learn quickly.
Yeah. Is there any wrestler right now that you look at and you go, yeah, they've got it, and or I see some of me. I see some Marc Mero in that guy or gal.
One guy recently I saw that I really enjoyed is I didn't even know him because we were doing yoga together over at Dallas's place. Was Darby Allin was there.
Okay.
And so Dallas introduced me to him, and I never saw him wrestle before. I didn't even know his character or anything, but he was just a nice guy. We just hit it off talking and stuff. And easiness in him. When we're younger, I remember I brought the shooting star press to the WWF. I saw it in Japan. And so I would do things then, of course, the Mero salt where you're facing one way, you jump up in the air, turn and do a flip. No one ever did that. I used to do that off a diving board as a kid,
Triple Indy.
Yeah. So it was like just, but doing off a diving board, doing it off the ropes are two different things, and you're landing on a person, not the water.
Right.
So I had a little bit of, I had some guts, man. But seeing Darby brings back some of those memories. He's a little, wow. and he better stick with the yoga because that's going to keep him toned and in shape and limber. Because the way he falls and gets hit and thrown around, he's going to need it.
Yeah, that's why Darby's very hot right now. That's not who I was expecting. I don't know who I was expecting, but that's all right.
The reason I say that is because I recently met him and then started watching him on TV. There's the guys that I would have loved to wrestle. Seth Rollins, the guy I would have loved to work with. I see a lot of similarities in our styles. Shawn Michaels was a guy I've always wanted to work with. I tagged with him before. We never got to wrestle each other. Bret Hart, another guy I tagged with, never got to wrestle each other, and we were together, WWE like 3 or 4 years. We never got to work against each other. So there are some matches I wish I would have had. But I look at the matches I did have and the talent I was able to be in the ring with, the Attitude Era, some of the greatest wrestlers of all time, wrestling against The Rock and Triple H and Stone Cold and Undertaker and Triple H and the list goes on and on of the great wrestlers I got to work with and against.
Yeah, you sure did. Well, let's talk. You established a tax-exempt not-for-profit called Champion of Choices back in, I think, 2007. So you're almost at 14 years, or at 14 years, so almost at the 15-year celebration.
We got our 15th year coming up in September. That's
amazing. So tell us about. I know if we look on your wiki, it says that you're a motivational speaker. I already know that. Obviously, a lot of you were Angel Forever and things like that. And at some point, obviously, you said that you were raised Jewish, but obviously at some point you converted to Christianity. Yeah. And we don't need to go into any of that stuff, though I have a feeling part of that is tied into the charity, but maybe not. But tell us about your not-for-profit. Tell us about what inspired you, what you're trying to do, what you are doing.
Well, first and foremost, my faith in Christ is paramount in my life, but we can't talk about God or religion at schools, and we don't. But what we do at schools is we really inspire students. We touch kids on a heartfelt level. And so many students are going through depression and anxiety and being bullied or abused or suicidal thoughts or feel like there's no hope, especially with this pandemic. The isolation and loneliness that many of these kids have gone through is things that you and I never experienced like that level as kids. So I understand it. I'm with kids all the time. When I'm saying that is that I'm on phone or conferences, live events, and we get hundreds of letters from students on how this program has changed or saved their life. And it's just a blessing. I tell you, who would ever think by sharing my story would help somebody else, And through my tragedies, through my struggles, it's helped other people realize that they're not alone. And we all go through stuff in life, And it's just about getting up again and working hard towards your passion in life, your goals, your dreams. And it gets kids. And the great thing about this program is because we've been doing it now going on our 15th year, we get students that saw us, 10, 12, 13, 14 years ago that are now a professional athlete, are raising a family, started their own business. And I get this all the time. They go, the day you came to my schools, the day I wrote this goal down that I was going to do this or that, and it became a reality in my life. And I always share with students, put a goal or dream somewhere where you have to see it. I used to put them on my computer, little sticky notes. And every day I'd open my computer, I would see a goal I had. And see, the more you see it, the more you realize you got to take action towards it. Otherwise, years go by and we go, oh, I always wished I would have done this or done that. But when something's in front of you, it forces you to take action towards that dream or goal. And it's inspired so many students over the years.
That's great. So how do folks help, how to help out the organization? What's the website? What's the, what's the organization's name if I didn't get it right? I mean, what's the information?
The website is Think Pause, and Pause is P-O-Z as in zebra, thinkpause.org. And you can always go to our YouTube channels. We got about 117,000 subscribers now. And there's some inspirational videos on there. If you're going through some hard times, check out those videos on everything from depression, anxiety, how we treat others, being bullied. So check that out. And of course, the Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, just type in my name, Marc is with a C, and you can find me. I'm easy to find, and I try to answer most the letters and messages people that send me.
Wonderful. Is there anything that they can do? Is there anything from Marc Mero? Do you have any merch or appearances or anything like that, or is everything into the organization?
Well, we got a bunch of virtual events coming up, and those are private, obviously, for the school that hired us to do that. But we are scheduling for next school year, and hopefully we can get things as close to back to normal as possible, where we can do live events again. And to anyone listening out there, life is good, man. Wake up every day with a positive attitude. Self-positive affirmations are so important in life, man. Our mind is what we tell ourselves inside that really matters, not what other people. You're not defined by other people's opinion.
Well, it looks like you can still mix it up to me. So if people are out there, he's got some left in him. I'm telling you, he's got a lot left in him. So listen, thank you for the good work you're doing. Appreciate you so much coming on. I appreciate your time. I think we are in the slot that we agreed to early on. So just quickly, Kong or Godzilla?
Kong.
Okay. Marvel or DC?
What's that?
Marvel or DC?
Marvel.
Okay. Star Wars or Star Trek?
Star Trek.
Last one. Godfather or Goodfellas?
Oh, got to go with Godfather.
Okay, that is the correct New York answer, even though Goodfellas is close to the Brooklyn Lynbrookians.
Johnny Martino is a good friend of mine who was in the movie The Godfather as Paulie Gotts. So I couldn't go against him. He's to this day, he comes to some of my parties and stuff. He's a great guy.
Never go against the family.
Yeah, he did. Oh, boy.
All right. Well, listen, I thank you so much for your time again. I had to get those silly quick fires in, but I took a lot of notes here, so we know a lot about you now. I appreciate it. Thank you. Continued success. You look great. Love your story. Everything looks good. You're beaming. You're practically a sunshine. So congratulations. And again, thank you for spending some time with Unpopular Review. And, we'd be happy to have you again.
Thank you, and God bless you. God bless everybody out there, too. Take care.